Hey, greetings.
It's good to be here.
Greetings, comrades, and welcome once again to our Consciousness Study Group. It's a pleasure to have you all join us today as we continue with our studies. And as usual, this is what we do every Thursday. We've been doing this for many years, either physically or virtually. So welcome, Brother Kim, Brother Kwame, and Sister Portia.
Thank you,
And
brother.
as being, Brother Kwame, can you hear me?
Yeah, I say thank you, brother.
Okay, as a first-time member, probably Brother Kim, we'll allow you to introduce yourself before we introduce you to our procedures. Please, Brother Kim, just have an opportunity to introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. My name is Hakeem Ashral Rais. I come from Black America, but I'm living in the continent now, so I am a repatriate. I'm a pre-cadre of the AAPRP, All African People's Revolution Party, and I'm also a pre-cadre of the SMG Socialist Movement of Ghana. In my field of study, my main interested field of study is metaphysics. So I'm very interested in this breakdown of the Kwame Nkrumah book on um, consciousness. I read Steve Biko's and his speakings on the Black consciousness movement, but I would like to know Kwame Nkrumah's perspective.
Thank you very much. I think Brother Kwame will officially welcome you. Brother Kwame, I think that's in order. You heard about Brother Hakim.
Yeah, no, thank you, brother Hakeem. Did you say Socialist Forum of Ghana?
Yes, sir, most definitely.
Okay, right. Yeah, I was secretary many years ago of the SFG. That was when, not officially though, although I took the notes. That was many years. That was when the that was when America launched the Iraq War.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was a little while ago.
Yeah, so there was so the SFG planned a demonstration against the war.
Yes, sir.
I think ours was after the British had also, demonstrated against the war, but they ignored us all and went to war, claiming that there was weapons of mass destruction, which turned out to be false.
Right.
So yeah, so it's good to have you here. I know of one or two brothers in the SFG. Well, Kwesi is my personal friend, and though we haven't spoken for a while.
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, you are in the right place here. We have been, as Brother Pigeon said, studying as you said, the metaphysics.
Yes, sir.
That is needed for us to liberate, unite, and develop Africa. And
Yes,
there's been a lot of focus on the neo-colonial citizenship, and a lot of our brothers and sisters, even on the left, some of them have lost track of the fact that the neo-colonial territories are meant to evolve into a continental African nation. So welcome. We see, or I see this philosophy and ideology as speaking to us in terms of the perspective that we need in order to unify the continent. So you are in the right place. So welcome. And my regards to the SFG when you next meet. We used to meet on Sundays. I don't know if you still meet on Sundays.
Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays now.
Okay.
So now Sundays is AAPRP day.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the AAPRP again here in the UK, where I am currently we have I have friends who are in the AAPRP. So brother, you are at home. Yeah. So feel free.
Thank you, sir.
And welcome. And join in as Brother Pigeon chairs. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that introduction and for welcoming. Brother Kwame is our chair, of course. He's also the director of Kwame Nkrumah Trust. And Consciousness Study Group is an initiative of Common Nkrumah Trust. So we basically deal with the book and the philosophy. Welcome again, our members who have joined us as well. Sister Ida, feel most welcome. Sister Portia, feel most welcome. Brother Sam from the Azania, and a strong member of PSC, a veteran member of PSC, feel most welcome. And Sister Tapua as well from Zimbabwe, feel most welcome as well. And Sister Portia from the United States, Sister Ida from both sides. We have also a new member called Francois Ndegwe. Francois Ndegwe, feel most welcome. Feel free also to maybe introduce yourself. It's not always our routine, but when you have new members, it's good that we know who is with us because this is a safe space. So, Brother Francois, please, are you able to unmute yourself? Let us know who you are and where you're joining us from. Francois Ndegwe. Hello, Francois? Okay. If he's not able to speak, probably we'll be able to get through Francois. Francois, when you'll be able to share.
I think we can see him. Maybe he's struggling to unmute himself.
Okay. Can you introduce yourself? Hello, please go ahead. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Francois Ndengwe, and I'm very pleased to attend this meeting to learn.
Welcome, comrade. Where are you joining us from? Where are you joining us from? Where are you joining us from? From?
What? Can you repeat it, please?
Where are you joining us from? Like, where are you connected? Where are you currently?
Oh, it's not clear.
Okay. Okay. No problem. We'll get in touch with you, but to feel most welcome, Francois, from joining us.
And, okay, no problem.
And feel free to let us know where you are connecting from, where you are joining us from, where you are currently, please. Feel free to share that with us as well.
Okay, no problem. I hope it will improve and we can speak better. I can hear you better and I will hear you better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, comrade. So, okay, thank you very much. I think welcome new members who have joined us now. Let's do our tradition. So as usual, with the new members who have joined us, we usually do the reading of the paragraph shared. So the paragraph highlighted is the paragraph I shared for our studies. Is actually the paragraph you're moving to. So we've been reading a paragraph per paragraph. Once you're done with that chapter, we get to the next chapter. So currently we are in chapter 4, which is page 82 of the entire 121 page. So last week we were reading the previous paragraph. In fact, there were two paragraphs tied, including the word ending with strictly speaking, the assertion of the sole reality of matter. The assertion of the sole reality of matter is atheistic, for pantheism. 2 is a species of atheism. Philosophical consciousness, even though deeply rooted in materialism, is not necessarily atheistic. Now, that was the end of our previous reading. Now, today, we will start and only read the paragraph highlighted. Once we get a volunteer who reads this paragraph, what we always ask is we go around on the members or attendees list and we ask you to share your thinking. Now, we are very interested in your thinking. Not your opinion, not your understanding, but your thinking. And you are free to share your thinking as per the text on what you like, and also you are free either to relate the text to anything practical. But feel free to share your thinking, and nobody should be judging your thinking. But as usual, Brother Kwamu is our chair, will come in anytime either just to give more of elaboration or probably a question or follow-up things for explanation. So this ought to be like a traditional class where there's a teacher and student, but that is not what we're doing here. So we are a class of all equals, and we believe that you have the capacity to share your thing. That's why we are not here to lecture. We are here as a group of equals to sit together and share what you think in regards to the text written by Kwame Nkrumah. Now, to start us off, I'll request if there's any member who is in a position to read for us. For your records as well, these sessions are always recorded, and we do share them in our YouTube channel. So we have all the recordings of the last 3 years in our YouTube channel, and probably Brother Kwame or myself will share the link of our YouTube channel, including the last Thursday reading. So if you've missed anything from the introduction of the book, when you get to your YouTube channel, you'll find an opportunity to view all our studies as we are doing it now for the last 3 or 4 years. Having said that, Sister Ida, I see your hand is up. Please unmute yourself.
I think I'm happy to read if you'd like.
Oh,
Thank
thank you. Thank you. For records, Sister Ida is one of the old member, very long time member, committed comrade to these studies. I found her in the studies. She's been here for years. So thank you, Sister Ida, for continuously being here, and thank you for volunteering to read for us. Please do so. Sister Ida, you can proceed.
you.
And welcome, Dr. Stephen.
Okay. According to physio oh, now I can't even pronounce the word.
Sister Ida is philosophical.
Yes, I had that in my head earlier, but okay.
Proceed.
According to philosophical consciousness, certain activities possessing all the syndromes of purpose may still be the direct activity of matter. Such activity is widespread and is characterized by a non-appreciative response to stimulus. That is to say, it is characterized by a response to stimulus emptied of all self-awareness, a response devoid of all cognition beyond the reaction of that which is, excuse me, is for the time being acting as stimulus. Instinctive response is this kind of activity. For in instinctive response, there is a non-appreciative response to stimulus, a response which is not conditioned by any realization of a possible relation of purpose between the stimulus and the stimulated. On the other hand, appreciative response is deliberate. Here there is self-awareness and an appraisal of the situation involving stimulus and response. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Ida, for the reading. I'll request any male who is in our midst who can also read for us for the second time, so that Sister Ida also takes stock of the reading and maybe digest it. So any member again who will wish to reread the paragraph, we do it slowly, very slowly. Any male voice who is willing to read the paragraph again? Okay.
Yes, I'll read it. It's no problem.
Okay, Akim, please read for us. But go very slowly. Be very slow.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. According to philosophical conscientism, certain activities possess all the syndromes of purpose may still be the direct activity of matter. Such activity is widespread and is characterized by a non-apperceptive response to stimulus. That is to say, it is characterized by a response to stimulus emptied of all self-awareness, a response devoid of any cognition beyond the reaction to that which is for the time being acting as stimulus. Instinctive response is this kind of activity. For an instinctive response, there is a non-apperceptive response to stimulus, a response which is not conditioned by any realization of a possible relation of purpose between the stimulus and the stimulated. On the other hand, apperceptive response is deliberate. Here, there is a self-awareness and an appraisal of the situation involving the stimulus and response.
Thank you, Brother Kim. Now, that is the reading for today, and that's the paragraph we intend to discuss and share our thinking. Now, I'll start by asking the question, as per our tradition, is there any word that might need definition? So any member who feels that there's any word that may they need, we define it first. Yes, Sister Ida?
Is it apperceptive or appreciative? I'm not quite sure. And what is the meaning?
Thank you for that question. I think the answer is direct. It is actually apperceptive, not appreciative, apperceptive. Now, anybody who wish to define that word? Anybody who is in a position to define the word? Please unmute yourself. If no, I'll ask Brother Kwame
Can
to
I?
help define the word. Yes, Sister Tapua, please.
Okay. The root word there is perceptive. To perceive is to see, but apperceptive is when you look at something and you use your experience from before to understand the object. So that's apperceptive. When you look at something and don't just assess it for what you see, but what you see is influenced by prior experience or knowledge.
Thank you.
That's it. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody who would like to add anything on that definition? Or Sister Ida, if you have any question on that? Okay. Dr. Stephen? Dr. Stephen?
I'm obviously reading it wrong, so thank you.
Okay, Dr. Stephen, come in.
I think my reading says that it's more like an intentional way of doing things. Because if you look at the opposite of what it's talking about instinctive nature. So that means it's a response that does not have any rational self-consciousness with it. So that is now the opposite of it, is when you do it intentionally and rationally. I think that is what they're trying to compare it to. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother Kwame, would you like to add anything on that?
I agree with what everyone has said. I suppose we can bring together that word and other words, like so let's bring together syndrome, apperceptive, cognition, and stimulus in this way. So there's a flash of light. It enters your eyes. That flash of light is a stimulus. Then when it enters your eyes, it goes into your brain. And then your brain uses your apperceptive system, which means that the brain has the capacity, it has stored in it your past experiences. So that system in your brain will integrate that flash you've just seen with your past knowledge. Yeah. And so you know, maybe that's a camera. So that is how that one works. Now, your higher cognition, that's another word there is cognition. Your cognition then decides whether you should smile or whether you should blink. Yeah. And this whole processing pathway, if it malfunctions consistently, as it doesn't work as it should, doctors may label the recurring pattern of issues a syndrome. So that's how those four words come together. So syndrome is the things that doctors see to say this is what this is. Cognition is how your brain responds after it analyzes what has entered your brain. And when it enters your brain, it's called a stimulus. And then the brain uses something called the appreciative system to compare that has entered your brain and past experience to decide what to do. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Kwame, for that elaboration. I think that is very useful. Now, is there any word that you still feel that need to be defined? If no, I'll go straight to our membership so that we start sharing our thinking on this. Any word? Okay. Now, Brother Kwame, now that you connected 3 words, will I allow you just to proceed a bit to share your thinking, or would you like to come later?
You want me to share my thinking?
Yes, I'm interested to share your thinking.
Okay. So to share my thinking, I would say that.
Do you want to share a slide as you do? Usually do?
Not today, no.
Okay.
To share my thinking, I would connect this whole paragraph to the very first paragraph of this whole chapter, which starts by saying that practice without thought is blind, and thought without practice is empty. I repeat, practice without thought is blind, and then thought without practice is empty. So this whole chapter unfolds based on that very first paragraph, that first sentence in that first paragraph. So essentially, what it's telling me is that conscientism is a philosophy of action. Yeah, not just action, but also thought. That philosophy or philosophical conscientism, which is an African philosophy. It's not a European, it's not an American, it's not a Russian, it's not a Chinese, it's not a foreign philosophy. Yeah, that is philosophy, which Nkrumah, with our permission, says is philosophical conscientism. But I think the page has changed, just so you know, which Nkrumah calls philosophical conscientism. Some say conscientism, that's also fine. That it's about action. And there are 2 basic beliefs. I use the word beliefs. You can say tenets or principles, if you like, of philosophical conscientism. And the beliefs are that one, matter, is the primary reality. That means that everything else emerges out of matter. When we say matter, we don't mean the physical. Yeah, we use matter in the scientific sense. Yeah, which includes that which is seen and the unseen, that which can be touched and cannot be touched, that which can be heard and that which cannot be heard, etc., etc. Both are matter, and out of this matter, emerges all other categories of matter, including consciousness. That's the first belief. The second belief is that matter has powers of self-motion, which means that it is capable, without any force from outside itself, to move. Yeah, that is motion, of which we have seen that there are three types, which, as we have looked at before, correlates with liberation for linear motion, unification, which correlates with rotary motion, as you go in circles, so round and round, and then finally development, which corresponds with change in property. So we saw that there are three types of motion, which means that Africa is capable of three types of motions. Africa can liberate itself, it can unify itself, it can also develop. So, and all three are, as you have realized, are action. They have to do with practice and thought. So I don't recall that we looked at the previous paragraph specifically, because there are three terms that are important. I don't need to go into them today. Maybe we'll look at them another time, but they are atheism and pantheism. And what do they mean as far as philosophical consciousness is concerned? People sometimes think, yes.
I think as you actually rightly put it out, I'm not sure if we really went deeply into that paragraph.
Right.
I'm not sure. It might be an error on my side, but I think it will be very important on your coverage to also at least define those keywords, because they are very key important words that precedes this paragraph, please.
Yeah. So, yeah, okay. So for us, philosophically, we are not interested in the religious meaning of those terms. Yeah, we are interested in the philosophical meanings of those terms, and so yeah. Anyway, atheistic simply means that the universe has no outside philosophically. There's no outside to the universe, and that word goes along with two other words that we looked at in chapter 1, which are theism and deism. So there are three words. There is theism, deism, and atheism. Those three words are also related. Maybe I'll do specific slides on those, but I'll pick it for another time. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be okay. You need to do, maybe it will be helpful for us.
Okay. So Nkrumah goes on. Now that I've explained what the two beliefs of philosophical consciousness are, the two main tenets, that matter is primary and it has powers of self-motion. Nkrumah then says that according to this philosophical consciousness, which is our philosophy, certain activities possessing all the syndromes of purpose. In other words, when you see purpose, whatever purpose looks like, yeah, it turns out that matter has these characteristics, this syndrome. Yeah. And that such activity is widespread. In other words, you can find it all over the place, and it's characterized by non-appreciative response to stimulus, which means that the matter is able to act, but matter that matter has not got a mind. Yeah, as far as we know, uranium does not have a mind, and yet uranium is able to send radiations. That's energy outside itself. It's just energy. As far as we know, the sun does not have a mind, but the sun is able to radiate energy. Yeah, what is called the electromagnetic spectrum, through which one of which is sight, that we're able to see. As far as we know, the sun hasn't got a mind, and yet the sun is able to carry out this activity. So it means that these are non-apperceptive response. They don't have a system in their brain like ours that compares the past, what has happened in the past, when you get that stimulus. Yeah. So if you see a snake, they registered in your brain looks at the past. Oh, snakes bite, and then it tells you how to act. You might run away, or if you are a snake lover, you might go and touch it depending on your past experience. But matter, it turns out, certain types of matter do not have this apperceptive system, and yet they are able to respond. Yeah. So that is to say that they are characterized by a response to stimulus which is emptied of all self-awareness, which means that the sun does not have self-awareness. Uranium does not have self-awareness. Yeah, they don't have self-awareness, and yet they are able to act. So what is that telling us? It's telling us that the idea that for you to have motion, you have to have self-awareness. And by self-awareness here, we mean that you have to have purpose, which means that somehow the only things that can act are things or entities that are able to decide, should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? Okay, if I do this, this is what I will get out of it. If I do that, this is what I will do. Okay, I will do this, I will not do that. That system is part of the system of self-awareness, and that matter does not possess this. So that means that the response is devoid of any cognition beyond the reaction to that which is for the time being acting as stimulus. Yeah. So that is what it means, that the cognition, meaning that our brain has the ability, when it's done the apperception, meaning it has compared what you've just seen, the stimulus you've just received, is compared it to the past, and then decided how you should act. That cognition is not possessed by matter, and yet matter is able to act, which means that it is going beyond the reaction to that which is for the time being acting as stimulus. And the test goes to say that instinctive response is this kind of activity. So even in us, in humans, there are instinctive responses, yeah, that you don't require to think before you do them, like breathing, for instance. You don't think, oh, should I breathe or should I not breathe? Yeah, breathing is instinctive. Yeah. So for an instinctive response, there is a non-apperceptive response to stimulus, which means that you breathe, and when you are breathing, it doesn't compare to the past. You don't receive a stimulus. The stimulus says, okay, now you can breathe, Brother Pigeon. Okay, now, Brother Pigeon, don't breathe. Your brain is not telling you that. You just happen to breathe. Yeah. So it's saying that it's a non-apperceptive response to stimulus, a response which is not conditioned by any realization of a possible relation of purpose between the stimulus and the stimulated. Yeah. So if the stimulus is a snake in front of me and I am the stimulated, the way I will act will depend on the stimulus I receive, my experience with snakes, and then how then my mind tells me to react. Yeah. So that is what it's saying here. So on the other hand, an apperceptive response is deliberate. Yeah. So it's deliberate. That is, you decide consciously, with self-awareness, that you will act in this way. By action here, we mean motion, don't we? Mean motion, of which there are three. Yeah. So here there is self-awareness and an appraisal of the situation involving stimulus and response. So where there is a perceptive response, like in us humans, who are also a type of matter, we are able to say, should I do this or not? And what will be the outcome if I do it or don't do it? And that is what the last sentence by the pigeon is telling us, that here, that is where there is a perceptive response that is deliberate, that there is a self-awareness, and you're able to appraise. That is, you analyze, you look at whether or not it will benefit you, and so on and so forth, of the situation involving the stimulus and the response. So that is my thinking on the paragraph. Now, what is the philosophical implication of what I have just read for Africa? I'll hold that thought, Brother Pigeon, and then when we've heard from more people, I'll also share. Thank you.
No, thank you, Brother Kwame. I believe it was useful for you to share your thinking at this particular juncture, because we have been used to physics. I think now we are getting to biology. And it's very interesting, your mastery of both physics to biology as you try to relate to this. So let me get to our list. I'll go to the next person in my list would be Sister Tapua. So I'll go sister, brother. Sister Tapua, please come in, share your thinking. If there's anything, maybe the thinking of Brother Kwame might have also helped you in, feel free also to share that. Sister Tapua, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I feel very challenged. Can I pass for now? I'll join later. Thank you.
Yeah, I will allow you to pass. Yeah, you are free to pass, but only with the promise that you'll come back later. Okay. Sister Portia.
Yes, King Brother.
Yeah, how are you?
Thank you, King Brother. Greetings.
Yeah, greetings. Please feel free to share your thinking on this as well. You can also maybe be triggered with the thinking of Brother Kwame, but feel free to share your thinking the way you wish as well.
Okay, thank you, King Brother. As always, I'll go sentence by sentence. It's one paragraph, and then I'll share my additional thinking. So my initial thinking is the first sentence in paragraph 1. It parallels 3 keywords: direct activity, matter, and then purpose. The second sentence, in terms of that direct activity or that activity, is dealing with instinctual response. That activity is being. The third sentence says that activity, again, is not about reasoning. The fourth sentence says that in that regard, there is a type of response that is more pensive, more strategic, and that is by way of a mental process of comprehension. The fifth sentence is focusing on ultimately in that formal process. Sentence 4, there's a self-awareness, there's learning taking place. Now to my additional thinking. My additional thinking is, I think thinking in racial capitalist systems are overrated and won't get us anywhere. I was attending some meetings this week. One of them was the African Union ECOSOC, and it was supposed to be a people-to-people forum. And let me preface this by I am not speaking on behalf of anyone other than myself. And in that meeting, it was the same type of structure that I've seen in other racial capitalist system settings, i.e. United Nations, which is, in my opinion, not my opinion, my thinking is that they get a group of people that they know, that they're comfortable with, who are not going to push it too much about dealing with the real problem, and say the same things that many people already know. And so those people, they talk for a set amount of time, and there's no participation from the persons who are alleged to be the non-experts, the participants. So they're going to say what is needed to be done, going to say that for 15 minutes. Then the moderator, after the moderator congratulates them, probably have given them some, key words to discuss so that nobody gets embarrassed. if, you know, ancestors forbid if we got embarrassed, if all of us knew that we actually go to the toilet like everybody else. Anyway, so they have those questions. That expert answers them, says what's need to be done. Most people already know it in those audience. And then after they say that, they have another person. So by the time that you, pardon me 1 second. Have a good day, King brother.
Yeah.
Okay. So by the time they get to the people who really they should be listening to, it's okay. By the time they get to the people they should be listening to, they only have about 2 minutes to say what they got said. And even among those participants, they selecting who they may or may not feel comfortable with. I would dare say it's the may feel comfortable with. So there's so many hours on these experts saying these things, and then about not even 10 minutes of really listening to people who gonna get to the root of the matter. So they're thinking in racial capitalist systems. That's my thinking. They're saying all of the nice words. They're talking about how great we are, what we need to do, what's possible. And then in those meetings, we leave with just talking. So I think in racial capitalist systems, I think what this paragraph is saying is in racial capitalist systems, thinking is overrated. And that if we really want to do some type of thinking, then we can revert to indigenous Akibulan ways of thinking. Now, I know, as I had said before when I did a presentation about Akibulan, you know, there's controversy about that word. I still use it. But in the principal ways and indigenous ways, there wasn't always this type of thinking that basically I tell you what I know and I leave little room for you to say what you know. That wasn't indigenous Akibulanese ways. It was very much participation, discussing, furthering the discussions, coming with evidence, and then communally, we then address the situation. Yes, there may be a person who's a leader. Ultimately, that leader is enacting those decisions based on the collective. So I would caution us to stay away from thinking and being smart or intelligent as per racial capitalist systems. There was another person, and then I'll close with this, in that meeting, expert. Someone gave them a random question, and the person said, this expert said in that forum, I'm not used to answering impromptu questions. And I'm like, come on. So in traditional Akibulan ways, we not only was the women and men was not only learning how to self-protect ourselves. Shout out to Queen Amirenas. Shout out to King Brother Shako Zulu. We were also knowing that we were doing critical thinking. We were questioning, we were examining stuff that was furthering the collective and not just having an accolade on the wall to say how smart we are. This is what I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Portia, for sharing your thinking. I'll come in for maybe 2 minutes to share some bit of my thinking at this stage, and I'm chairing so that I'll be able to have time to go through other members as well. Now, there's a work we've been doing, probably I've been focusing on that, to simplify every paragraph. So we are still producing the draft part of this, and part of the simplification of that which will produce as a document later for simplification. Now, this is what I will share out of that, my briefing. Now, in this paragraph, actually Nkrumah is introducing the psychological and biological layer to his argument, that matter is active and self-moving. That's what you've been discussing all along. He is explaining that many behaviors that look intelligent, as Sister Portia is trying to bring it out, or purposeful, are actually just complex material reaction. Further, proving that we do not need to invent a soul or a spirit to explain activities in the world. Now, there's the syndrome of purpose. has been actually pointed in Sister Portia's first sentence: purpose, matter, and activity. Now, Nkrumah is saying that certain actions might possess all the syndromes of purpose, meaning they look like they were planned by a mind, as Brother Kwame was also saying, but are actually the direct activity of matter. Now, here is challenging the idea that only a conscious spirit can act with a goal in mind. Now, if you link this to how then they perceive the Africans from the colonial mentality, is that actually this thinking undermines the colonial argument that Africa's social structures were primitive or were aimless because they did not follow the Western rational plans. And that's what thinking I think Sister Portia is also trying to raise. What Nkrumah is saying is that material reality has its own internal logic and purposefulness, movement, regardless of whether a mastermind is directing it. And I think that's also what Brother Kwame tried to bring in the instinctive response, But the second element is the non-apperceptive response. Either you can call it the autopilot part of it. Now, Nkrumah defines non-apperceptive response as activity that is emptied of all self-awareness. For example, the response to stimulus. It is a reaction devoid of any cognition or thinking beyond the immediate reaction to whatever is triggering it. The example of this instinct, and Brother Kwame used the snake element, the instinct is the perfect example. Now, for example, when a biological organism acts on instinct, it isn't realizing a purpose or thinking about the relationship between the trigger and the goal. Its matter is simply reacting. The example here will be, again, now when you blink, for example, when you blink because an object flies towards your eye and you blink, you're not deliberately deciding to protect your sight. It's just your body, which is the matter in this case, reacting automatically to the stimulus. Then there's a third element of what you call a perceptive response, now the deliberate element of it. Because there's this sentence that talks about the deliberate element of it. Now, in contrast, a perceptive response is described as deliberate, which means come out, for example, self-awareness. In the self-awareness, in this case, it involves an appraisal of the situation where there's a conscious mind evaluating the stimulus and choosing a response. Now, in philosophical consciousness, this higher level of mind is not a separate magical substance, but it is a critical organization of matter that has evolved the capacity of self-awareness. Now look at the philosophical big picture here. Nkrumah is actually using these terms to bridge the gap between the matter and mind. Now, by showing that damp matter can act instinctively or non-apperceptive, he makes it easier to argue that intelligent mind, the so-called apperceptive, is just a more advanced version of the same material activity. Now, he later notes that even humans are not above non-apperceptive response, as deliberate actions can be turned into automatic conditioned reflexes over time. Now, let's think about the simple example I'll be ending with here is, think of an example of a thermostat. Some of us are thinking of the thermostat versus the resident. Now, in the thermostat, for example, in an apperceptive element, when the room gets cold, that now becomes for example, the stimulus. The room is cold. What happened? The thermostat turns on the heater. It responds. Now, it doesn't know it is winter or even it plans to eat. What it just does is that it is a material reaction to the physical trigger. It has a syndrome of purpose, but not self-awareness. Now, in the perceptive element, the resident case on this, a person feels cold, for example, then assesses the window, is open. So you feel cold and you realize there's an opening in the room. Then you consider the cost of electricity and decides to put on a sweater instead of turning up the heat. That is a deliberate appraisal involving self-awareness. Now, the lesson out of this is that Nkrumah is telling us that the purpose and motion we see in the world and in African society is a natural property of the material environment. We don't need a ghost in the machine or probably colonial master somewhere to provide the purpose, or the capacity for action is built on the matter itself. That's basically a few of the things I was trying to share my thinking on based on the guide we are trying to work on this other side. So having said that, Brother Kwame, do you want to come in on anything before I go to the next person?
No, thank you for your exposition. So hopefully when we finish doing the editing, we can share this with everyone, including the dictionary that Brother Michael started, which I think we're in the process of concluding. We apologize that it's taken quite a while, but we shall also be sharing a dictionary so that these words are all there for you to interrogate either during the class or before. So, Brother Pidgin, thank you. Thank you for the work you are doing. All I will add to what you've said is that in the attempt, in the text's attempt to bring to our attention the fact that something that looks purposeful may not actually be purposeful when you look at its cause. Yeah. However, we must also be conscious or be careful or be on the alert that something that doesn't look like someone is behind it actually has someone hiding and pushing that agenda. So let's be mindful of both, that the underdevelopment of Africa, if I may use that term, that we see may not be the purposeful action of Africans, but might it be the purposeful action of racist capitalism? Yeah. So in practice and thought, and I think Sister Portia has drawn our attention to how empty thought can be. How empty thought can be when it's not related to action. And we know that the African Union is not responsible for actions on the ground. It is for the states, it's for the neo-colonial states to act on the ground. And for the neo-colonial states to do that, they have to pass a law that internalizes the AU's position into law. And then the states can act. And I think in our presentations on Saturdays, we have come to an understanding, I believe, that in most cases, if not all the cases, the African Union has all these wonderful strategic documents, but they are just on shelves, rusting away because the states have not implemented them. So when the AU invites civil society to come and speak, you can understand they may be wary of what is said in that space in case they are seen as stepping on the toes of the African presidents who they have to report to. So
thank you.
So yeah, so thinking, I know Sapocha said thinking is overrated. I think thinking can be overrated, but thinking itself as an activity of matter is a necessary, if you like, part of the structure of the mind. And the mind just thinks. You don't decide whether you want to think or not to think. If you're not thinking, that means you are dead. Does that make sense? So thinking is a characteristic, is part of the structure of the brain. And so, yeah. But yeah, thinking, if it is overrated in the sense that all you are doing is thinking, there's no practice, you're not doing anything, then of course, then overrated there we can say is what Nkrumah is also saying, that thinking is has no practice. So the thinking is empty. So thought without practice is empty. Yeah. So there can be empty thoughts. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go to Sister Ida. Sister Ida, please come in.
I'm afraid, Brother Pigeon, I don't think I'm ready. I'm you all, and I'm still trying to pick out some words that get me started. So I'm sorry.
No problem.
Wow,
No
thank you.
problem, Sister Ida. I believe you'll be ready before the meeting ends. No worry. Now, let's get to Elder Sam. Elder Sam, please come in.
Good evening, Brother Pigeon. Am I audible?
You're audible, Elder Sam. Good evening to you too. How is
Thank you.
Azania?
We are still grappling with the local government elections that are coming ahead in November. So under the smoke screen of the March and March revolution. But yeah, that's the situation currently in the country.
Okay.
In terms of our studies, brothers and sisters, and I think I agree with all the inputs that have been made thus far. And for me, really, I want to go back to what we said previously. First, I think the starting point is to agree that we don't know it all. I think that is very critical and important. But Kwame has gone a step. You know, this whole theory that is talking about here, it is lessons learned from the revolution that he and his peers went through fighting colonialism, and only to find ourselves under neocolonialism. And I think the essence here is to say, let's look back, let's see what went wrong, and let's learn and then take this fight against neocolonialism to our logical conclusion. And for me, that is very, and it's telling us there's so many frills and trappings that our erstwhile imperialists are employing to keep themselves in this continued oppression, exploitation of us as the people. And Kwame is trying to say we should be able to see through that. And he's giving us the tools. We need to match theory with practice. Some of our leaders, I can talk about my president here in South Africa, a president that is caught in a criminal activity and claims that he is not guilty, but he is going to one court after the other, trying to stop the process of scrutinizing what he is accused of. That person we should be able to sue. This is the same president who's making sure that 26.5 million people in South Africa are getting grants. And if you look at it that way, you will think, oh, what a good president. But he is giving our people peanuts that keep them enslaved, not arming them to become people that can do things for themselves. And that is part of the scheme of the imperialism. And Kwame is trying to bring that out. Our theory and practice must lead to what Brother Kwame says every day. We are here to liberate ourselves and our people. We are here to unite our people. We are here to develop our people. If all what our purpose on a daily basis can focus on that, this is what Kwame is saying, we will be able to defeat neocolonialism. But we need to check it, theory against practice. What I'm doing daily, Is it part of liberation? Is it part of uniting? Is it part of developing? If it doesn't measure, retrace and find where the mistake is. I think basically that is the input. And he's also showed us that the Western world will always give us their lens and ways of looking at this. And when he was talking about the reductionism, they will tell you that to know that this is a vehicle, you need to know the little parts before you understand the little part. But that is exactly what they are saying about colonialism. Before you know that you must fight this monster, you must go into the nitty gritty of what capitalism is. And at that time, you will be exploited. You will be passing on this world until eternity. So we need to be wise of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elder Sam, for sharing your thinking. Thank you for very great words there. Brother Akin, I will usually come to you, but now that your hand is up, please feel free to come in if it's a question, and also feel free also to take the opportunity to share your thinking as well. Brother Akin?
Yes, sir. It's a question and an idea as well. Where it's talking about instinctive responses and then over actually thought out responses, and we must think as people of action and act as people of thought. What came to mind is the it's a saying by Carl Jung, and it says, "Until we make the unconscious conscious, it will continue to control our lives, and we'll call it fate." Right? So, one of the enemy's number one assertions about conquering the African people, he mentions it in this document or video based on this document called The Making of the American Negro, where he says we are able to take advantage of the African people because they are a people who are too sensual. They rely too much on and sensual is like the five senses, but it was saying more so they rely too much on intuition as opposed to, what, the Europeans rely on, which is study and historical, evidence and everything like that. And I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm saying they were saying that that is one of the ways that they're able to control and conquer African people because they leave so much of their actions predicated on intuition, the mystical or mysticism or the spiritual unseen realm. And there is conscious thought and there is unconscious thought. And for example, when all of these things are happening in Africa and you tell a Ghanaian, hey, we need to take the time to organize and make a change, they'll say, oh, we don't need to do that. God is going to take care of it. Or the ancestors is going to take care of it. The ancestors won't allow nothing to happen to us. Even while there's flooding, even while there's people that's dying, even while there's reports of terrorists coming down from the north side of Ghana. I mean, up until the terrorists kick their doors in and start shooting up homes, they'll be like, "Oh, the ancestors won't allow anything to happen to us," And I think I'm looking at this idea of education and literacy. And I look at the idea of not just education for book's sake or thinking sake, but for the sake of enlightenment. And the unconscious is the dark realm of the mind. So when I say enlightenment, I mean bringing more of that unconscious mind into that frontal lobe, that consciousness. And I don't know whether here we're talking about necessarily a praise of intuition. Our intuition is very sharp among humanity, but I do think there should be some consideration in conscientizing the people more. I didn't want to speak because I haven't read the entire reading yet, but I have downloaded. I wanted to read through it, so I didn't want to stray from a point that maybe Kwame Nkrumah says later on down in the reading, or that he's already said before this section. But that was just the thoughts that came to mind. Until we make the unconscious conscious, it will control our lives, and we will call it fate. So what we're saying, oh, God is not going to let it happen, or the ancestors are not going to let it happen. We don't even know what we're referring to as God. So like I posted in the chat, somebody said, if you're struggling, that's God's plan. So you should appreciate your problems. But who are you referring to as God? Or the original Bible is 88 books, but they gave you 66 books. And they said God decided that those 66 books were all you needed. Like, well, if God wrote the 88 books, then is that the same God that decided you only needed 66 and the rest of the 12 he wrote was not needed? You see, we don't even know what God we're referring to, because all of this is just subconscious thoughts, and we're not really consciously, actively thinking of, what we're doing. So I think thinking without consciousness is a wasted time. But if the thinking is making the subconscious conscious, I think that is the prerequisite to movement. Just my
Thank you.
assertion.
Thank you, Brother Akim. Brother Kwame, would you like to come in?
Yeah, it's interesting listening to Brother King, because he seems to be saying that Africans believe. Correct me, Brother King, if you think I'm interpreting you wrong. You seem to be saying that Africans seem to be deferring their own need to act in the face of whatever needs to be acted against, and referencing the ancestors and God, etc., rather than taking whatever action that they need to take. Am I reading you right, Brother Hakim? Is that a fair summary?
Exactly.
Okay. So, yeah, so you are right to say that Nkrumah may have said something about it, and that is correct. We here have discussed that, and we have rejected the if you like, the materialism of the philosophers like Newton, etc., who in their philosophy of matter, because what that is really saying, Hakim, is that matter does not have the capacity to have purpose. Yeah. So if humans are matter, do they have the capacity to have purpose? And according to the philosophers, the scientists that we have looked at, their argument is that matter doesn't have that capacity, which implies under colonialism that Africans are exactly what you just said, that they don't have the capacity to undertake any type of motion, whether it is linear motion, rotary motion, or change in property. And so this chapter, we looked at that before you arrived, is saying precisely, telling us precisely to reject that kind of. I'm not saying that is what you say you believe. You said you didn't believe it, so that is clear. But we don't accept any such characterization of Africans, that is what we are. In fact, I don't know whether we are all aware of this philosophy called negritude. Yeah, are we all familiar with negritude? So negritude was a movement by French philosophers or French leaders. They were anti-colonial also, but they took this idea that the African is instinctively all that Brother Hakim said, that we don't act on the basis of rationalism. We are irrational people. We don't think. We don't do history. We don't do science. We don't do mathematics. All we do is we respond to everything on the basis of feeling. And that is the negritude movement. And it became a big movement. And the president of Senegal, the first president of Senegal, was one of the key leaders of that movement. And as you can imagine, Nkrumah was having none of that nonsense. So anyway, so yeah, so brother Akim, thank you for sharing that with us. And I'm suggesting to us that what Brother Hakim has said has been a movement on the continent, and under Nkrumah's leadership, we successfully defeated it and put it to rest. And in the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, I've mentioned this before, when our brothers and sisters met to look at African philosophy, they came to clear conclusions that way of thinking was not part of the Africa. Look, the Yoruba, if you go to the Yoruba, yeah, and you go to they are priests. I'm trying to remember his name. The one that has the cowries and throws them on the ground. Yeah, that is mathematics, actually. And it's not just mysticism, it's not just mystery, although mystery is a value of mathematics as well. When they are doing their thing, the Odu and so on, that is mathematics. And out of the arrangement on the floor, they are able to read into it and tell you what you should do. That is rational. That is mathematics. Yeah. I know some people have looked at that and have argued that the binary system that computers use today was already in the Yoruba philosophical framework. Yeah. Anyway, let me pause there.
Thank you, Brother Kwame, for that.
It's okay.
Sister Tapua, are you in a position now to speak? Just checking, Sister Tapua. Okay.
Okay. Yes, I'm ready to speak. Thank you very much.
Please,
thank you very much to everyone who's spoken before. It's really been helpful in getting me to understand this paragraph. My what I read in this paragraph are two things. That Nkwame is saying that philosophical conscientism acknowledges two things: non-apperceptive and apperceptive responses. And what I'm getting is non-apperceptive response is a result of actions of matter that the respondent has not come across before and is just instinctive. So what is visible is the reaction of whatever object is responding to a particular stimuli. It is raw and basal. In other words, there is not much thought in it because there is no basis for thought. Because thought assumes that you're linking whatever stimuli you're facing with whatever you have in mind, and you're trying to reconcile the two. So in my mind, I have said to myself, non-apperceptive reaction is the base. Without understanding or acknowledgement that there could be some intention behind that which has caused the stimuli. And apperceptive response is the opposite. It's based on social experience, and it is thought through. It is based on one's understanding from experience of the stimuli and response. My thinking on this is, as Pan-Africanist, When we are looking at situations around us, we need to be able to identify which of these is in place, is taking place. So I have considered one, because I'm in Zimbabwe, I've considered the South African experience or the South African events and what is happening. And for me, what we have in the South African context today in connection with the March and March is non-apperceptive reaction. It's a genuine reaction to situations that people are experiencing. And it's instinctive. They want a better life. And they're hurting from the experiences that they're having. And therefore, the way they've responded to the situation that they found themselves in tells me that, particularly from the reactions and then some of the commentary that is coming out of South Africa, from South Africans, with some of them apologizing, others trying to now engage at an apperceptive level. Because what we now have is a situation where, because from experience, a lot of us are coming from older countries in terms of colonial, I don't know whether to call it independence, because I remember the debate that we used to have about getting given independence and so on. But we've got the experience as Africans coming from the region, and we're dealing with a younger country of people who are still reacting at a non-apperceptive level, because they're just responding to the environment and what's there. Because of their experience and because they've been closed out, because we failed to get through in terms of helping to develop and build an understanding of what neo-colonial Africa looks like, we found ourselves on the outside having apperceptive response versus non-apperceptive response. The same thing is happening in Zimbabwe. There are a lot of people who are experiencing things for the first time. It's like when a baby experiences something for the first time, they throw a tantrum. They're not thinking about what it is that is happening or why it has happened. And yet, we also have people within that same environment who are able to look at things in an apperceptive response, because we're looking at things globally. So we need to make sure we try to get the people that we want to take with us into the unification and development of Africa to understand beyond responding in a non-apperceptive manner. I'll stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Portia. I'll move to the next person.
Tapua.
Yeah. Thank you, Sister Tapua. Yeah, thank you, Sister Tapua. I'll move to thank you. I'll move to the next person because of our time, but I'll allow maybe people to come back later. So let me get to Brother Ifo. Brother Ifo, please come in. Still have some members who haven't spoken. Brother Ifo, please. Okay. Let me then call in Brother Philip. Brother Philip, are you able to come in? Brother Philip or Brother Ifo? Okay. Now, in that case, let me go to who is on. Brother Philip, please go ahead.
Yeah. I think that they highlighted, thanks to all the speakers who have spoken before, I think what I get from this passage quite clearly is Nkrumah is talking about a response, a type of response, either perceptive or aperceptive. By perceptive, I mean intelligent. And we have tried to look at the various applications of it from the various speakers. But I think that he probably will develop that later on in his book as we read along. So that's what I get for now.
Brother Philip?
Yes.
Okay. So you say you'll share more as we move to the next paragraphs on Nkrumah go deep into this.
The application, yes, I think so. I think for now, I'm seeing the point he's making on the two types of responses to stimuli, either perceptive, aperceptive.
Okay. Thank you for that. And then let me get to Sister Tapo. You want to come briefly? Because trying
Yes.
to run. Yeah, okay.
Yes, please. I wanted to also mention how, as Africans, we respond to race and racism. Because in a lot of instances, we are now so apperceptive because we can sense we can actually see when a person is being racist and they quickly turn around and say, oh, you want to use the racist card. But because of experience, because of how we can tell that this conversation or this interaction is going in a particular way, we're able to deal with it. I felt sorry for the young children of Zimbabweans who have not experienced racism, who ended up in the United Kingdom and were experiencing it for the first time. And you could see that their reactions were instinctive and sometimes full of disbelief because they didn't quite understand where this kind of activity was coming from. So I think racism and how we react to such situations is part of examples of that I could give. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's get to our young comrade in the room. Brother Horace, are you around? Brother Horace Otieno? Okay. Yeah, Horace.
Hello.
Yeah, Horace, please.
Actually, for today, I'm still pondering on the same. I'm still trying to get, but let me listen. Let me listen to you for today. But everything is okay.
Okay, thank you, Horace. Then let me get to. I'm going through my list. I'll come to everyone, please. So just be patient. Let me get to Brother Mauli. I know you joined a bit late, but not that late. And also, I shared the text in the invite. Brother Mauli, do you have something to say? If you are free to share your thinking with us, Brother Mauli. Brother Mauli.
Yeah,
no,
I'm okay.
Okay, so you are not. Are you able to share your thinking, or you will pass for now?
I'll pass for now.
Okay, it's okay. Now let's get to General Nunaki. General. General Nunaki. Okay, General. Okay, let me go to. Let me ask again, Brother Ifo. Are you in a position to speak? Just confirming. If you're in a position to speak, maybe later, just let me know so that I can allow you to come in. Sir Window.
Yeah, I'm in a position to speak.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So please proceed, Brother Ifo, first before I go to Sir Window later.
Okay, I will be really brief. I'm reading the text and it's giving me uh, a name or a label for something that I have seen and experienced from when people seem to be um, reacting in ways that are counter to their best interest, but they just do things because that's either what they've always done or that's what they've been subconsciously brainwashed to do. And so I am this definition of non-apperceptive and apperceptive is something that I think I will use because it explains the phenomenon of the unconscious ways in which um, a lot of us end up living if we're not paying attention. And I think it's critical for us to separate those things and understand how to deal with that. So my only challenge is I'm trying to still figure out how do we bring the unconscious to consciousness, and that is my struggle. I'll yield on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ifo, for that. Let me get to Sawindok. No, Sawindok mic is not even on. Sawindok, if you can have your mic on, that will be better. Sister Portia, your hand is up. Please come in briefly.
No, but
Yeah.
a very bad network.
Oh, okay. Sister Portia, hold on. Let me get from Sawindok, then I come back to you. Sawindok?
I'm at a very bad network.
Okay. So we pass for now.
Please.
Okay. Sister Portia, still come back to you. If you can come in very briefly, then I go to General Nunaki. I'd called him before. So Sister Portia, be brief.
Yeah, I just want to go back to this. I want to go back and I'll say it more on Saturday because this chapter that I'm looking at is going to show it better than I can explain it. Right, there was nothing like racial capitalism before it began. And that is not a flex. That's not something to celebrate. That means it's so insidious. It's almost, it could be compared to a global disease of epic destructive proportions. That's racial capitalism. So when some people, going back to Brother Efo's point, when some people say, well, Africa, come on, go and get it together, Africa, look at Asia, look at Singapore. If you go into it more, you see that those countries like Japan, they are dealing with racial capitalism. They don't say it's racial capitalism, but those countries who subscribe, even the African countries that get the flex by North American and European countries, and then I'll close on this, it's because they're subscribing to the very system that destroys us. So there is nothing like racial capitalism. It is an anomaly, pardon me, it's an anomaly in a bad way. It is a horrid system. So the results of people, be that going to do drugs, be that beating their husbands, whatever ills you can think of, it is the consequences, the negative effects of those systems. So we arguably going back to indigenous Keebleness ways, and at the same time, as Brother Kwame likes to always say, having new warfare, which I gave that presentation on, so that we can get out of this mess. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Sister Portia. Let me get to General Nunaki. General Nunaki, please come in. Yeah, Brother Stephen, I'll be coming to you. Don't worry. General Nunaki?
Yeah, kind of a big. What's up?
Gerald, your audio is not audible enough. You're not that audible enough. Please try.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Now you're good. Yeah, please go ahead. How are you?
Son of the lake, can't complain.
Okay.
Still in the war. Yeah.
Yeah.
Greetings to everyone, actually, and give thanks to the people who came before me here. Had a lot of interesting perspectives. Okay, due to time, I'll just be brief. So what I'm getting here, basically, first of all, I would like to disagree with one of the speakers, if that's allowed here, that said that Africans are responsive or they non-apperceptives are perceptive. I'm pronouncing it properly, which is false because if we look at biology and human psychology, we would find out that um, we as the in the earth basically it's not accurate to say we are all humans. That's the first distinctions our ancestors were teaching us. We're not all humans. We have humans, we have the children of God, and we have mankind. You understand? So obviously the children of God are the one who possess biologically responses from the pineal gland in order to stimulate melanocytes to secrete melanin, and therefore that pineal gland also has other biological um, stimulus that it does to other hormones which are responsible for emotional stability and cognitive thinking, more especially critical thinking in the frontal lobe of the brain. So these things are mostly found within basically the African people, the sons of man. So that is to say, the African, even though they may be ignorant and may not know who they are currently due to the 500 years of brainwashing, it is within them that they feel as if they need to worship something, even though they may not know what it is. And so that eagerness to worship something is basically coming from the history that we as Africans have been worshiping our ancestors, the ones who've been building the pyramids and every wonders in the world. And then by that time, we knew who we are because we worshipped our biological ancestors. But now because we don't know who we are, we have question, a continuous question, asking ourselves, who should I pray? What should I pray? What should So that is just a biological characteristic to show that there is no way an African body can be reactive to stimuli. But if you can talk about now the humans, which is basically the ones who are mixed with the animals here on Earth, they don't possess a definite soul because of they don't have a pineal gland that is working. Therefore, they cannot stimulate melanocytes. Therefore, they cannot have melanin. And in that case, that means they are not able to have emotions or to have feelings of wrongdoing in whatever they do. That is why they are not apologetic about the things they've been doing to other people in the earth, because they don't possess the pineal gland to actually stimulate certain biological emotions so that they can think about the things they're doing, critical analysis. So that already tells us who biologically is the responsive people here on earth is obviously not the blacks. So that's where I'll end. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting points. I think Brother Kwame will come back to some, but very interesting points. Just to allow me finish this round, and then I'll go back to Brother Kwame maybe to respond to some few, not even respond, but just to maybe share further thinking. I'll allow Brother Stephen to come in. Dr. Stephen, greetings. Happy to see you.
Oh, thank you very much. I always think about the context because Kwame Nkrumah is not just writing, he is responding to something. I think that is very important. He's not just writing. It's in a situation in which Black people, Africa, has already been undermined. So it seems like to respond to that, to say, so trying to, it's not that Black people were incapable of thinking in all those description, but that's how they were perceived and how colonialism itself created such a boundary. Because even if when you read this book from the beginning, as it starts, it's such introducing as a certain type of a black person is created by machinery. So he's responding to that. But one of his response, which is quite interesting, when he uses the idea of matter, he's trying just to show that sometimes the idea of rationality, maybe even the idea of consciousness that the European tries to create is different from the idea of consciousness that the Africans have. But doesn't mean that if it does not appear in the same way that is approved by the Europeans, does not necessarily mean that it does not exist. So he's trying to come to a point whereby to say, actually, there was rationality within the African. There always has been, but it have never manifested itself in the same way the Europeans wanted it to be. I think that is the one of the things that is, I think I find it very important. And one thing that I like about what Professor Kwame have given us, it's interesting, the issue of negritude. Negritude, where Black people wanted actually to create their own space. So they wanted to create something that is opposite to what the way Westerners were doing. So they created their own space. But by doing that, they're actually playing into the colonial system by now trying to accept that actually there is no rationality within the African culture. We are emotional. That is why you find that that type of thinking became very, it lost its prominence because most of the people criticized it. One of the prominent people who directly criticized negritude was Fanon himself, because he realized this idea of binary. So if you realize that, if you look at Fanon's criticism of negritude and Kwame Nkrumah's criticism of negritude, it's almost the same. Kwame Nkrumah does not criticize it directly, but his writings actually, it's a direct attack of negritude. Though Fanon actually did the same thing. But if you look at it, Fanon and Kwame Nkrumah, they are almost of the same generation, though they are situated within different spaces. So it's quite an interesting thing. But one of the things that is very important in that is just to realize that sometimes we don't need someone else to tell us that we are rational for us to be rational. So it doesn't come from outside. It's already within. So his definition of matter is to try to say that there already has been an effective rational and reflection within Africans, actually. The reason why it never manifested the way it's supposed to be natural was because those who colonized us tried to stifle it so that it doesn't come out. So when Kwame Nkrumah is writing this chapter, if you realize even the name of the book itself, Consciousism, is trying to talk about the idea of consciousness. It also is trying also to say that there's been some aspects of the Western subjugation that have actually affected us, so that we end up also reacting. He's not saying that it's in the nature of Black people to react. No. There is a certain system that have mechanically tuned us in a way that we end up reacting. So if you realize the idea of consciousism is to create self-awareness, self-consciousness, that is the rational part. To say that whenever we are doing something now, we should not just react to the thing, but we should first have a critical reflection behind it. So the idea of consciousism is to think through things before we actually do those particular things. That actually makes us also rational and reflective. I think that's what it's trying to do. So I always like the context of it. Even these two paragraphs, they are trying actually to define even the book itself. So according to him, he wanted not only action that is not thought through, he wanted an action that is thought through, that is not just a reaction, but the one that is actually meant to have a particular push that is purposeful. So he was also doing that. So he is not, in a way, he's not trying to put Black people or Africans as if they don't think. No, he's trying to say, no, they always has been thinking. Then he goes further to say now, but because of the state that we've been put into to believe that we cannot think, we need also to be aware that sometimes some of our reactions that we do is because of that influence that have stifled who we are as rational beings. So being self-consciousness is a way of breaking out of that. Well, that is my basic understanding of these two chapters. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Stephen, for sharing your thinking. Allow me to go now to Francois Ndegwe. Francois, I know it's your first time joining us. Are you in a position to share what you think out of course, maybe from the text or what you've listened from members who have been contributing? Francois, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name well as well. So please come in. Ndegwe? Ndegwe Francois?
Brother Pigeon.
Yes.
That name is Francis in French. It's Francois.
That's French. Okay.
That's a French version of Francis.
Okay. Thank you.
It's Francois.
Thank you for that correction. The second name appeared close to my pronunciation as being more of Bantu, Ndegwe.
Ndegwe, yeah. But the first one is French. It's Francois. It's a French version of Francis.
Okay, thank you. But it seems he's not in a position to speak, or he's not maybe able to
he's
speak.
joined us just today. Not everyone is quick to to contribute when they've just arrived.
Yeah, but
Brother Hakim is one of the brave ones.
Yeah, Hakim has been brave, but we really appreciate you joining us today.
Yeah.
So I've gone through, Brother Kwame, the entire list of members who are present, and I think now I can be back to you, Brother Kwame.
Yeah, you see, what Brother Dr. Firi has said is spot on. But then the question remains, which is what Brother Hakim raised, which is that if we say we are perceptive, then why are the things that are happening to us? So we may say that those he has alluded to created a movement on the continent called negritude, and that negritude didn't go anywhere because Africans, at least the intellectuals like the Nkrumahs and the Fanons and so on, wanted none of that. Even if we say that, there's still the question still remains: why is Boko Haram still there when we have a whole Nigerian army, one of the most powerful armies on the continent? Why are terrorists still crossing into Burkina Faso? And as he said, crossing into Ghana, etc. So these questions have to be answered, and we have to find a philosophical response to it. Of course, it all goes down to what Sister Aposha said, which is the nature of the economic system that is undergirding all of this, which is capitalism, with a twist that, at least as it's practiced today, is racist, and therefore underpins neocolonialism. Yeah. So neocolonialism is the expression of racist capitalism as is practiced in Africa today. And could that be the reason why what the issues that Hakim has raised are there? Yeah. So I thought I should make that point. Thanks.
Thank you, Brother Kwame, for coming.
On the question of Brother General's presentation, I am not an expert on the types of humans and non-humans. Brother General is an expert on this, so I will defer to him when he presents on the three types of beings: the children of God, the humans, and the mankind. He is the expert, as you know. He is General Inaki. So I have no comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody? We still have around 12 minutes, but I'll allow anybody want to come back to any point they wanted to raise. If not, then I'll be ending towards the end of our session as we prepare to finish our meeting. So if there's anybody who still feel that there's something they wanted to share or they want to add on, that's not given opportunity to do so, please find time to share something on that. So I see two hands up. I'll allow the two to go ahead. So let me start with Akim. Akim, please come in. We don't actually, let's not be like a rebuttal up and from, but basically just to further our thinking. I think that will be more welcome. So, Brother Akim, please proceed. Brother Akim?
Yes, yes, sir. I just wanted to always leave us with, I come from where the Black Panthers were in Malcolm X, and of course everyone on this chat knows about Marcus Garvey. And I don't want us to forget power to the people. It is the masses and you know it's a lot of spirituality that we wouldn't have the time to delve into now, but the study of metaphysics is why I'm interested in this book. I've been studying metaphysics from the literature of Hegel, and just a lifelong study of metaphysics. And when you have millions of people on the same wavelength, on the same thought, on the same consciousness, you can do very, very, very powerful things that are more powerful than guns, things that are more powerful than bombs, things that are more powerful than any of the deities that these imperialists pray to and that they worship. So yes, I am of the belief system that Africans are what we would consider gods. Now, I consider gods to be levels, and the most high to be what's called an absolute, or the highest level. So therefore, in man, the highest level of man. So I do not consider that we are right now at the highest form of our godhood, but I do understand the ideology that we are gods. But sometimes in our ideology, we forget about everybody who are at the lesser consciousness and elevations of godhood. And just because the people are at a lesser consciousness and elevation of godhood does not mean that they won't be important to the struggle. We have brothers who are trapped in Christianity and trapped in Muslimhood and just trapped into ignorance, trapped into drugs, trapped into addictions, trapped into all of those things. We can't just say, oh, well, these people aren't God's children. They're of the other two classes, so we're only here to save our class and help our class. It's 8 billion people on this planet, and if we just say, hey, only the gods are the ones who are responsible for saving the planet, are you even able to hold that much power of your godship that it would take to accomplish such a task? If not, then that means that you have to galvanize and awaken the others. The like I said, the amount of godship that you would have to carry to do this by yourself wouldn't even allow you to be in this realm. So that means whatever that threshold is, we have to awaken everybody around us to that threshold. It's not for God to be encapsulated in one people or a few people, but it's for God to be spread out across the consciousness of the globe, especially in Africa, where we're able to house and understand this consciousness because of our genetic disposition to it, our genetic exposure to it. Our genetics is coded for us to understand and encompass this knowledge. So we can't forget about education. We can't forget about spreading these work circles out. We can't forget about spreading this all over the globe. South Africa wouldn't be allowing Israelites to settle in South Africa if they knew the true identity of the Israelites. And so everything that we're doing right now is everything that we're allowing right now in Africa is because of a result of our lack of knowledge and lack of understanding. So whether that be a lack of knowledge of the unseen realms, or whether a lack of knowledge of historical knowledge, or whatever it may be, we can't leave the masses behind. We have to work with the masses in order to liberate the planet. Because even as gods, if we have to come down and save humanity every single time, then humanity will never learn to be self-sufficient. And different forms of conquerors and imperialists will keep popping up throughout the eternal history of humanity. So if we are gods and we do believe that we are gods, then we must understand with that understanding that we have to conscientize humanity so that they can become self-sustaining and self-protecting and self-maintaining of this planet. You know, and I just wanted to leave with that.
No, thank you. Thank you very much, brother. I'll allow Brother Kwame to come in, but I just, as a joiner, we don't believe in differences in classes, in hierarchies, in the
That's
level of
fine.
activities.
Yeah,
Brother Kwame, please
yeah,
begin.
brother Hakim has just joined us today. You remember what Brother Hakim said? He said he wanted to know what metaphysics we are studying. So we will, Brother Hakim, if you join us more, we will get to that. It will evolve. Yeah. So thank you very much. I mean, you know, Hegel was an idealist, yeah, and Marx was a materialist, yeah. But we'll get into that because of time. But yeah, brother, feel free to share your thinking. It doesn't follow that we all think we are children of God, but we hear you and we respect your way of looking at things. We appreciate it. We have no problem with it because of the position of philosophical conscientism. Yeah, that in as much as it objects to extremes on both ends, yeah, it welcomes faith and beliefs and so on. So it's fine. So thank you very much for. I hope you will join us more often, brother. But quick question, brother Hakim. You don't have to answer it. Do you think the SFG is taking the masses along in Ghana? Thank you.
No, thank you, Brother Kwame. I actually will confess that in my work of trying to simplify this text, I didn't know that some part of the text in future here, Nkrumah was very focused on the mass power and the belief that the masses and the people have the power and are the soul and the creation of a nation. And even when you talk about bringing this CPP and the organs of everybody, the workers and everything else, I think I didn't look at that in this book until maybe I went to the extent of trying now to look at it. So I think what Brother Akin is saying and the prescription on how the masses must be involved, Nkrumah's talk about it maybe, and we'll come across it just in the same chapter. So a lot has been focused on.
Well, Pigeon, no, that's why I was asking Brother Akin. Doesn't have to answer whether he thinks the SFG is taking the masses along. In terms of the masses and the people and the fact that they are responsible for their own liberation, look at the last chapter of Neo-Colonialism and the last stage of imperialism. Nkrumah makes it very clear in that chapter. In fact, I think it's the last paragraph. He makes it very clear that it's the people, the mass that will liberate themselves ultimately.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Just as I'm saying, I didn't know it's also here. Because you see, here Nkrumah talks of maybe plain thing in a philosophical way. So you might miss it. But I think it was very important when I came across it here. So, comrades, I don't know, Anunnaki, you you want to say something? Because I'm just close to closing this session. And Brother Kwame, please feel free to share the next week's topic or this Saturday topics and the rest. Anunnaki, please come in.
Yes, my brother. Hey. No, it was 2 points, but I'll just leave them because of time. But the only thing I'll say, or the only takeaway question I would like to give all the members is the last part. Even though it's in that paragraph that is not highlighted, but is the last paragraph. That paragraph, Kwame Nkrumah talks about non-human animals. It's interesting, that etymology, because why would the great Kwame Nkrumah talk about non-human animals as if we do have the opposite of that? That's all I want to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It's a lot that is coming in, and I think now you also start to understanding how did Nkrumah reach the level of talking about that, and now trying to connect the elements. As you'll be surprised, Nkrumah is trying to talk physics, talk biology, talks religion, talks everything. As if Nkrumah was probably all rounded in terms of some studies. But thank you very much, comrades, for those who join us today. This is what we've been doing, and this is what we keep doing every day. for every week for the entire maybe years that have passed. Those who join us today, like Brother Kim, Brother Ndegwe, please feel free to join us again. And Brother Horace, who joined us maybe some few weeks ago, also is happy to see you being consistent with this. And those who are here before some of us came in, like Brother Kwame and Sister Ida, thank you for still being here. You actually guide us to join and keep the journey moving. So I've shared the recordings for our previous session, last week's session, on our YouTube channel. And I think those who join this Thursday are also allowed to join the Consciousness Study Group WhatsApp group, which is actually only philosophical. And Brother Kwame has been very keen on this. Any conversation that is not philosophical or any text or information we share that is not linked philosophically are not allowed within that WhatsApp space. But any text that are general text can either go in the information debate club that you have, can either go in our Unification of Africa project that you have, or any other place. But if you wish to share any text, any news in our philosophical group of Consciousness Study Group, please do some favor also to try to link it to the philosophy a bit. Just give philosophical explanation to it, a commentary a bit. That will be very helpful. Now, as been said, we also have a Pan-African library for those of you us, Akim and the rest. Sister Amma has been very active in our Pan-African library. So we have over 7,000 to 8,000 soft copy books in our Pan-African library that exist in our Telegram channel. So we have books written by all those Fanon, Black Civilization, all those Negritude, and any other thing, bro, from all the water road news, we have all those books in our library. They are soft copy, you can download them at your own pace anytime. Now, again, we have a Pan-African Reading Club that goes on every Monday as a program we run. So we run 3 programs in a week. We have the Monday Pan-African Reading Club, the Thursday Philosophical class, and the Saturday Unification class. So this Saturday, we are discussing the liberation. And the topic for the liberation, the theme for this liberation will be mass movements and popular power. So we look forward to anybody who wish to attend this session. Please prepare yourself to speak on something in regards to this. If you have examples, you have anything else you want to contribute, we'll be having 2 speakers who have confirmed so far. Brother Kwame will do a presentation, probably 15 to 20 minutes maximum. Sister Portia will also do a presentation on the same from a different angle. And then we'll open up the floor for each member, maybe to have a 5 minute or any other minute you wish to have to contribute to this topic. So we do the presentation, question and answer, and then we go to general comment. So please prepare on that topic, mass movements and popular power under the theme of liberation. The angle we'll be looking at it, so it's from liberation. So please prepare for that. Now, next Thursday, we will continue from where we've left to the next paragraph. I don't think I have much to say. Back to you, Brother Kwame. I think I've done my part.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for sharing, brother Pigeon. I hope we have more more volunteers, volunteer chairs. Brother Jonah, you have never chaired before. You might have to chair at some point. Yes, you are the general. Yeah, Brother Philip has chaired before. Brother Ifo has. Brother Sam has. Sister Tapua hasn't, as far as she has once. Only one, Sister Tapua. Come on, you can do better than that. Anyway, no, thank you very much, all of you, for coming. We appreciate you all. We thank you. It's really, really wonderful. What we are doing is really needed by the revolution, the masses, the people who we love very much. So no, thank you. Yeah. So see you on Saturday for the unification session. Yeah, thank you. Brother Pigeon, back to you.